They're also working on getting some other types of bases, maybe not permanent, maybe not for US personnel, but rather storage sites in which hundreds and hundreds of vehicles can be kept on site to make sure that if there would be some case of aggression from Russia, then instead of having to ship these things either from through Rotterdam or even further away, they wanted to have it all here. So it will be very interesting to see what the Polish president will say, what Joe Biden will say during his speech, since we already had this one surprise with Joe Biden traveling to Kiev. It's not impossible that maybe Volodymyr Zelensky would be willing to make that same train trip to Poland and also speak in front of the crowds in Warsaw next to the US president and giving his message out to the world. He is naturally usually speaking either online to various parliaments across the world, but he has also traveled abroad to meet with President Biden before, or this recent trip just a few weeks ago when he visited first off London. Exactly, yes. And once he went to London, then they woke up in Paris and realized that...
Yeah, they were very upset in Paris he went to London.
Yes, and they organized a last-minute meeting or a late-night dinner around 11 p.m. in Paris with Mr. Macron. And once Mr. Zelensky, President Zelensky visited Macron, then Olaf Scholz, Chancellor Scholz, woke up as well and decided to go from Berlin to Paris to attend this meeting and give the illusion that the Franco-German axis is still in full control of the European Union. But Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, stated that she considered this dinner to be absolutely inappropriate because it gave off this this feeling or creating this symbol that France and Germany is all that matters in the EU, especially considering that the fact that Olaf Scholz and Emmanuel Macron had brought Mario Draghi, the previous Italian Prime Minister, with them on their joint trip to Kiev previously. So these are those symbolical issues that are important in the world of diplomacy. Who goes where together with who, in what circumstances, for which anniversary. This is all something that experts on international relations are reading into and then making their forecasts of what could be ahead of us. So definitely the eyes of the world will be on Warsaw this afternoon. And another thing which also adds gravity to the event is that there is a rival event taking place in Moscow. Vladimir Putin is giving his speech to the nation today. And some people say that there could be some escalation. There is some increased activity by the Russian Air Force that has been stationed around Ukraine's borders in the numbers that we haven't seen since early on in the invasion. So there is some talk that maybe the Russians will try to launch an air campaign on a new level and start flying, because they only fire off the rockets from safe distance, whether over the Black Sea or the Caspian Sea or over Belarus or somewhere deep in Russia. But they aren't flying over Ukrainian airspace at the moment, since Ukrainian air defenses have proved to be so resilient. But some have said that maybe this will be an attempt to suppress those air defenses and take control over the airspace of Ukraine again. And in connection with that, that would make it easier for ground troops to also launch their offensives. So there is some fear of escalation. There are also some statements made this morning in Belarus, where they say that they are mobilizing 150,000 men, which will be given a weapon, but won't have to stay in the army barracks along the border. So some kind of halfway mobilization that nobody really knows how to judge. And this is naturally a problem that we have had with the dictator Alexander Lukashenko from the start, that he's making 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back, then 1 step forward, 1 step back. And so there are some uncertainties associated with this first anniversary of the outbreak of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And this interaction, if Vladimir Putin would announce something surprising, something shocking in his speech in Moscow, then naturally, just a few hours later, Biden will speak in Poland and will naturally make his stance known over there. It will also be an interesting event because Joe Biden was in Warsaw after the outbreak of the war, just a few weeks after, meeting Ukrainian refugees that had started arriving to Warsaw. And he gave a speech in front of the royal castle back then. However, that area, this square in front of the royal castle, is not that big, so the crowd, the audience was not enormous. There was still a few thousand people there, but it wasn't as big as it could have been. There was certainly a bigger demand. More people could have showed up. So this time he will be giving a speech also at the royal castle in Warsaw, but what is considered to be the back area, so to say, of it, these gardens that face the Vistula River. And there we can expect much more people to fit. And the Polish government has also made sure that anybody who wants to sign up and show up can do so. They just ask people to not bring umbrellas or some big bags, because the Secret Service naturally is working very hard.
Adam, as ever, the clock in the corner of the room is ticking away furiously, and so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but we'll pick it up next time. There we are. As usual, the clock is telling me that we have to bring this particular programme to an end, but fear not, we'll pick it up next time on Poland Daily History, and we hope you'll join us. In the meantime, thank you for watching.